XRP got rejected from its 200 EMA, dropping by over 2% since yesterday. In today's video, I'm going to be analyzing the 1 hour and 1 day timeframes for the XRP price action, sharing my thoughts and opinions as to where I think that is heading next. As I get into today's video, smash that like button if you're new, subscribe, and let's take a look at what's going on with XRP's price action. So here we have XRP paired up with USDT. We're on the 1 hour Binance chart. And you can see here this kind of sell-off event. This is a 5-wave drop to the downside, very similar to what we see over this side. Now, there's a few things that are really critically important that we talk about on today's video. Okay, so we are going to be going a little bit deeper into Elliott wave theory, which I know can be hit and miss with some of the audience, but bear with me because this is really important stuff that we need to understand. So a 5-wave drop is defined as a trend on XRP. Right now, we're only on the 1 hour time frame. So these are little mini trends, if you will. But a 5-wave drop looks like this, right? And there's no overlap between wave 4, okay, this little wave over here, and the wave 1, right? There's no overlap between these two things. And wave 3 has to be 1.618 times wave 1, okay? These are the unbreakable rules of a 5-wave trend, an impulsive trend. There are other types of 5-wave movements, but for the most part, we're only going to focus on this one today because this is really important. And when you have a 5-wave move like this, they're never on their own, okay? They're always accompanied by at least a second 5-wave movement, okay? And it'll look similar to this. And usually there's a relief rally that sits between the two, and we call that a 3-wave. Okay, so this would be typically known as a 5-3-5 structure, right? It's very quite basic Elliott wave theory stuff at this point. Okay, now what's really important to understand is there's a 5-wave pattern that's contained in each of the wave 1s, the wave 3s, and the wave 5s. Okay, so you have 5 down, 3 up, 5 down, 3 up, 5 down. And the 5-wave structure, the trend-based structure, is known as a 5-3-5-3-5. Okay, so as you break these structures down, you have 5-wave moves nested inside. Okay, so really important that we understand that a wave 1 has to contain 5 waves, a wave 3 contains 5 waves, and a wave 5 contains 5 waves, with 3-wave structures on the wave 2 and the wave 4, the little relief rallies in between. Okay, now what I've drawn here, this kind of 5 waves down, 3 waves up, 5 waves down, this is known as an ABC. Okay, A, B, and C. It's also got a common name called a zigzag, right? So lots of different terms that kind of get thrown around out there, but this is really important to understand the differences between what's going on here, because, and I want to talk about this, is what we're seeing within our structure right here for XRP, right? So we have a swing high over here on the 1 hour time frame. This happened on the 2100 hours, the 9th of September. Okay, and this is a 5-wave drop to the downside. Okay, so we have wave 1, wave 2, wave 3, wave 4, and wave 5. Okay, then they had a 3-wave relief rally to the upside. I'm just going to use a yellow wave for this, 1, 2, and 3. And you can see here that this Y wave does not cross higher than the origin of that 5-wave move. Okay, and that was 54.31, and we rallied up to a high of 54.28. Okay, so it fell short. That's important because what we can see now is another 5-wave move to the downside. Wave 1, wave 2, wave 3, wave 4, wave 5. Now, as I said earlier, you don't have 5 waves in isolation. They have to kind of appear in minimums of 2. Okay, so what we'd have here is the idea of a B, C zigzag pattern. But there is a problem because these wave structures, these 5-wave trend structures, they do appear inside each other, right? So they nest down. You have a 5-wave move in a wave 1, for example. And so the fear that we have to have with XRP right now is because of the depth of this structure, right? Typically, with the Fibonacci retracements, these patterns are going to sit within a specific range. And if we go ahead and put this on here, we should have finished above the 1.236 at 53.13 cents. But we didn't. We came down deeper towards the 1.382. Okay, and that was basically 52.99 cents. So we run the risk now of this changing into something different. Okay, so the risk is going to be that we actually have created a wave 1 here. We bounce up into a wave 2, which can be quite nice. And then we have a big wave 3 take us down very, very deep, right? So we have a big kind of corrective structure like this. And then, of course, what that means is that you have a wave 1 over this side, a wave 2 here. All of that becomes your wave 3. You're up for a wave 4 and you move down. And as you kind of move up the time frames, you can start to see these bigger 5-wave structures start to appear. Okay, so that's the fear. That's the first thing we need to be very mindful of, because it's a possible scenario where, you know, we see XRP break down towards our kind of low target range. range, which is currently on the daily time frame lower than 51 cent. We'll talk about that in a moment. Okay, so the reversal is real. The relief rally that we're currently seeing on XRP, we would want to see it break out. Okay, so we want to see a rally higher than 54.31 cents to kind of confirm that that's not going to happen under that structure, right? We're not trending to the downside on the hourly or the daily time frame. So in order to do that, we want to rally up higher than the origin of all of that structure, which would be 54.31 cent. Okay, so we're going to be looking for that big breakout, and that's going to be your trading opportunity. Now, of course, we finished the structure, and if I was a little bit earlier, I would have been able to say this would have been a great place to kind of go long. We could have gone long somewhere in around this area. We could target out the previous area of resistance somewhere up here, and we'd probably put a stop loss somewhere in and around this area here. And you could see this will be a 1.58 risk-reward ratio. This has kind of already left the gate, so we can't do it, but that's kind of the idea of what's going on. From our rally here, typically, if I'm right about the fearful scenario, then we are going to be looking for the price action to come up to the 88.2% to 50% retracements of that 5-wave drop. That's going to put us right inside this little pocket between 53.66 and 54.13. That's typically where you'd find a wave 2 retracement. So we want to be very mindful about that. And you can see here the resistances. We have the 50 EMA, the 50 SMA, the yellow and blue lines, and we have the 200 EMA on the hourly chart also right there in that box as well. So it's possible here that we have lower highs. That's another terminology that's going to get thrown around, and that breakdown from an Elliott wave theory point of view is real. So be very mindful. There's also a fair value gap here right inside this typical range of retracement, so we want to be mindful about that. That's likely that we're going to be pushing up into this area. There's also this really interesting pocket right here where we can see previous selling pressure and quite an extensive amount of it as well. So this is coming in at 53.93 to 54.17, so we want to be mindful about that as well. Equilibrium is right where we found a little bit of support at the moment, and obviously we can see down here there's some buying pressure as well as we kind of think about dropping down in price. All this red area up here, the kind of darker, paler red, this is all historical sell pressure. So again, you're right up in the zones of selling at that point. So it's not likely to hold, in my opinion. Taking a look at our stochastic RSI, we have got some bullish momentum on the 1 hour time frame. On the 4 hour time frame, we are still looking for downward pressure. So this is the same for Bitcoin as it is for XRP. So we're going to be looking for selling here to continue, and 8 hours also in the overbought area. So it doesn't look the strongest from a momentum point of view, even on the 4 hour time frame. Okay, so keep an eye on that. If we turn off the stochastics and bring on the relative strength index, you can see we are lower than the 50 level. We did get some hidden bullish divergence yesterday at 1600 hours. We bring back the chart, you can see that kind of tallies up with this candle right here, where we then saw a bit of a push to the upside, but of course got rejected. So again, we're not in the strongest position from the relative strength index either, so we want to be very aware of that as well. So overall, XRP's price action on the 1 hour time frame unfortunately is coming across more bearish right now than bullish. But the good news is that if we crank this up to a daily time frame, this is just a part of the bigger picture that we've been talking about, and it isn't all that scary. So on the daily time frame, we have been talking about this idea of continuing this move to the downside, trying to test our trend line. This comes in at the 48.42 to 51.05 approximately, right? This little yellow box area that you see down here. This is what we're targeting. You can also see the 200 EMA is our resistance level at 54.84. So even if we do rally up into that range that we were just talking about, and then potentially even push up into this additional range here if we can break out above some of those areas, which, there's not a huge probability of doing that just yet. But if we do get a breakout and we are able to rally up higher than that 54.31 cent area, then we do have this 50 EMA to contend with coming in on that range of 55.22 to 56 cents, which we were talking about, I think, in yesterday's video. So for the most part, everything is still kind of up in the air on the daily time frame. We are thinking that there's a move to the downside still to play out before we get into that kind of big break to the upside for the 75-85 cents, because as I was kind of talking about and have been talking about for a while now, we are still in this bullish pattern. This isn't something that's going to break down unless we break down lower than 38.23 cents. The target might change. At the moment, we sit at 75 to 85 cents. But for the most part, that target only changes if you come down lower than 43.19. And we are right on line for that big breakout for XRP price action, in my opinion. But I don't think it's going to happen just yet. We are looking for further selling pressure here before we get to that next move. I think it's going to happen after the Federal Reserve pivot, but you guys can let me know what your thoughts are on that in the comments down below or in our free Discord server, which is linked in the description. If I were to be trading this right now, I'm going to be looking at this through a bit of a mixed lens, where on the smaller time frames we could take advantage of some of the smaller moves that kind of build up into the bigger macro. We will be looking for long positions on a daily time frame. I just don't think it's going to happen yet. I think there's going to be lots of trading opportunities on the smaller time frames, whereas the daily time frame here is going to be looking for a retracement. But before we get into that retracement, we might first, of course, push up into that 50 EMA on the daily time frame. But I don't think we're going to get any closed positions above that 200 EMA. I think you're going to get clean rejection, and we could potentially be looking at going short up here with a stop loss above the 50 SMA, target down here for a nice 3.19 risk reward ratio as an example. I think that's a possibility. So enjoy some of the volatility on the smaller time frames, but I do think once we kind of come down to retest the trend line, that's where we can go long, and we target out 75 to 85 cents, which will be a fantastic risk reward ratio. We'll be talking about putting the stop loss at a reasonable area like 46 cents, target out 75 cents hypothetically, entry around this area of 50.89. We are going to be looking at well over 5 on the risk reward ratio. So some good trading opportunities on the daily time frame. And of course, if I am to be trading XRP on these long positions, it's going to be on 𝗕𝗘𝗪𝗏, which are my go-to platforms. And if you haven't got accounts for those guys, check them out. They are linked in the description down below. Fantastic platforms and fantastic sign-up bonuses and campaigns available for new users who haven't already got accounts over there. So do go ahead and check it out. I don't think you'll regret it. But those are my thoughts on XRP. What are yours? Let me know in the comments down below, or join us in our free Discord server. And if you haven't done so already, guys, click this video right here. It's not one you're going to want to miss.